Peace be upon you. So the Quran contains a mathematical structure based on the number 19. And the purpose of this is to give us assurances that the text we have, this transmission we have, is exactly what was transmitted to the Prophet 1400 years ago. And in addition, it gives us assurances that the text we have is not the musing of someone in 7th century Arabia, but the actual source of this is God, Lord of the universe. Now, this concept of the code 19 in the mathematical structure of the Quran, it's depicted in Surah 74 of the Quran, entitled Al-Mudathir. Al-Mudathir translates to the hidden secret, or put another way, something that you're staring at, but you don't see. It's hidden in plain sight. And you can think of this as another terminology for the concept of encryption. In this chapter, God is describing the human being whom He blessed with money and children, yet he's greedy for more. Then, 3 times in Surah 74, verse 18, 19, and 20, it says that he made a determination. And the word that's used here is qadr. Qadr signifies someone who measures, calculates, makes a determination. And the determination that this individual makes is that this Quran is clever magic, it's human-made. And the Quran's refutation to this claim that it's clever magic, it's human-made, is found in verse 30. It reads, "Over it is 19. Then in verse 31, it gives us the explanation of what this number is meant to do. It says, "We appointed angels to be guardians of hell, and we assigned their number, adat-tahum." And it gives 5 reasons. 1, to disturb the disbelievers. 2, to convince the people of the book, this is Christians and Jews, that this is a divine scripture. 3, to strengthen the faith of the faithful. 4, to remove all trace of doubt from the hearts of the people of the book, that's Christians and Jews, as well as the believers. And 5, to expose those who harbor doubts in their hearts. And the disbelievers, they will say, what did God mean by this allegory? God thus sends astray whomever He wills, and He guides whomever He wills. None knows the soldiers of your Lord except He. This is a reminder for the people. Absolutely, I swear by the moon and the night as it passes and the morning as it shines. This is one of the great miracles, a warning to the human race. This number 19 and its function was hidden inside the Quran for 1400 years. In the year 1974, this was revealed to mankind through a man named Rashad Khalifa. And the significance of this date, 1974, is that this is chapter 74, and it's the only chapter that mentions this number 19. Then, in addition, 1974 corresponds to exactly 1406 lunar years from the revelation of the Quran. 1406 is 19 times 74, showing that this has God's signature on it, showing that this is a miracle for mankind. So what do we determine from this number 19? Here's just some basic facts. The Quran contains 114 chapters, 19 times 6. The opening statement of the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, consists of exactly 19 letters. In all manuscripts, you can go to the oldest manuscript, it's always written with 19 letters. In this statement, you have 3 names of God, Allah, Rahman, Rahim. The term Allah in the Quran occurs 2,698 times, which is 19 times 142. The occurrence of the word Rahman occurs in the Quran 57 times, 19 times 3. Rahim occurs 114 times, 19 times 6. This is just some basic facts showing that this book is numerically structured around this number 19. But the real foundation of this is the number 19 with what's known as the mysterious Quranic initials. These are initials that prefix 29 chapters of the Quran, and oftentimes they're followed with the statement that these ayat, these letters, are proofs of this scripture. For example, in Surah 10, it says Alif Lam Ra, A-L-R. These letters are proofs of this book of wisdom. Or you'll go to Surah 26, Ta, Sin, Mim. These letters constitute proofs of this clarifying scripture. So how are these letters proofs of the scripture? What we find is in these 29 chapters, there's 14 sets of Quranic initials. If you look at any respective set, what you find is the occurrence of those initials in their respective surahs occur in multiples of 19. I'll give you some examples. Surah 42 and Surah 50 are the only surahs that contain the letter Qaf, Q in English. Surah 42 is roughly twice as long as Surah 50. Yet if we count the occurrence of this letter in each of these chapters, what you find is that this letter occurs in their respective chapter 57 times, 19 times 3. And obviously if you add 57 plus 57, you get 114, which is 19 times 6, which also corresponds with the number of chapters inside the Quran. Now what's interesting is Surah 50 starts with the statement, Q and the glorious Quran, showing this connection. Now if you look at Surah 42, there's actually two sets of initials. You have Hamim and Ain, Sin, Qaf. This is the only chapter in the entire Quran that has this set, Ain, Sin, Qaf. If you add all the Ains, all the Sins, and all the Qafs in Surah 42, that total you get is 209, which is 19 times 11. So we see that the Qafs in their respective set is a multiple, then Ain, Sin, Qaf is a multiple. What about Hamim? And this is what I really want to spend my time talking about. Hamim occurs in 7 chapters of the Quran. These are chapters 40 through 46. If you add all the Ha's and all the Memes in these 7 chapters, the total you get is 2,147, which is 19 times 113. This in itself shows us that the entire Quran is numerically structured based on the number 19. But there's something else interesting. Let's start by seeing if any other of the sets within these 7 surahs give you a total that is a multiple of 19. In order to do this, we need to determine how many combinations there could be. And if we run the following equation, we see that there's 127 unique combinations. Of these, only 5 sets, including the original of the total 7 sets, give you totals that are multiples of 19. This is not miraculous. It's actually within the realm of probability, because out of a set of 127 possible combinations, we expect roughly 127 divided by 19, or 6.68 sets, to be a multiple of 19. So 5 sets of surahs meeting this requirement is well within the expectations of probability. But what isn't in the expectations of probability is if we add all the digits of the counts of Ha, Mim in any surah and then aggregate the total for each of the respective sets, we find that the digits consistently add up to the exact multiplier that makes that entire set a multiple of 19. So for example, in the first set, we have surahs 40 through 46. The aggregate total of all the Ha's and all the Memes in these 7 surahs, meaning I'm going through the text and I'm counting every single Ha and every single Meme, that total is 2,147, which is 19 times 113. Now, if I say Surah 40 has 64 Ha's and 380 Memes, and I add those digits, so 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 8 plus 0, I get 21. And I do this across all 7 surahs. That total I get is 113, which is 19 times 113 is 2,147, which is the total count of HM inside these 7 surahs. And this is consistent across all 5 sets. So for example, in set 2, it's surahs 40, 41, and 42. The total count of Hamim is 1,121, which is 19 times 59. If I add all the digits for the H and M's that occur in these 3 surahs, that total is 59. And 59 times 19 is 1,121. which is the total amount of HMs inside those 3 surahs. And this is again consistent for all 5 sets. Now, there's no mathematical property that dictates that since the set of surahs is a multiple of 19, that the aggregate total of the digits that make up the initial counts for the H's and M's should equal the multiplier. There's no mathematical property for that. For example, if we decrease the occurrence of H in Surah 40 by 19, while increasing the occurrence of M by 19, so that the total stayed the same multiple of 19 for the 3 sets containing the Surah 40, the digits would no longer add up to the multiplier. So here we have the examples. These are the 3 sets that contain Surah 40. All I've done is I've decreased the H count by 19 and I've increased the M count by 19. So the total stays the same, but what we see is this alters the digits, giving you that the multiplier is no longer the summation of the digits of the initial counts. Now, this is very peculiar. If it happened once, you'd say, okay, you got lucky. But the fact that it's happening consistently in all 5 chapters, and again, there is no mathematical property why this should be the case. As we've seen, we find that the aggregate total of the individual digits in every set forms the exact multiplier that makes the set a multiple of 19. For this to work out in such an elegant, beautiful, interlocking way, the only way that this could be done is if the designer of the text intentionally planned for this. So we have one of 2 possibilities. Either this was a coincidence, or it's done by design. To figure this out, let's calculate the probability of such an event happening by chance. To do this, we first need to set our bounds. What are our limits? In an unbiased text, there's an expected frequency of any given letter. For instance, the letter E is the most common letter in the English language and constitutes roughly 12% of all letters used in the language. Therefore, if we picked up a regular book and counted the letters, we would expect that roughly 12% of the letters would be the letter E. So it's not likely to pick up an unbiased text and find that only 1% of the letters are E, or 99% of the letters are E. So what is it for Hamim in Arabic? In order to determine this, what I did is I got the ratio of Hamim for each of these 7 sets. And this gives me what the average ratio is across all 7 sets. And when we calculate the ratios for each of the 7 surahs and then get the average, what we find is that the average ratio of H to M, Ha to Mim across all 7 surahs is 15.38. with a standard deviation of roughly 2.3%. So if we use this as our baseline and expand that by 3 standard deviations from the average, this will provide us the bounds of what a realistic ratio of H to M, Ha to Mim can occur in a given text with 95% probability. And now that we set the bounds of what's a realistic ratio of H to M in a given text, I asked ChatGPT to run a Monte Carlo simulation with 1 million trials, where it randomly generates plausible HM totals, then checked if the total was a multiple of 19, and if so, did the digits add up to the multiplier. And after running 1 million trials, it found 0 matches. It then increased the number of trials to 10 million, yet it still found 0 matches. From this, ChatGPT concluded that the probability this happened by chance is effectively 0. This study presents a compelling case that the observed numerical structure in the HM, Hamim initial surahs is not a product of randomness, but of deliberate design. And statistically, virtually impossible for this to happen without a deliberate designer. Therefore, the most likely outcome is that this was done by deliberate design by the author of the Quran. And that's the reason that it calls out the number 19, telling us that it's going to give assurances to the believers, that it's going to convince the people of the book that this is divine scripture. This discovery raises a profound question. If such a sophisticated mathematical design were deliberately embedded in the Quran's composition, how could a Bedouin in 7th century Arabia produce such a work? The fact that these patterns remained hidden for 1400 years deepens the mystery. Perhaps he wasn't lying when he proclaimed this in Surah 40, verses 1 and 2. Hamim. This revelation of the scripture is from God, the Almighty, the Omniscient. The sophisticated mathematical design within this scripture prove that this text transcends human authorship. Its origin is divine, from our Creator, the Lord of the universe. God willing, we're going to end there. If you guys want to get in contact, you can join us on our Discord server. We have a lively group, plenty of discussions, Quran recitation, Quran studies, and it's a great place to meet like-minded individuals. If you want to verify the mathematical structure of the Quran yourself, I'm putting a link below to a Git book that has the images and color-coded for the respective chapters. And if you want to get a deeper understanding of the Quran, you can download the Quran City app on the iOS App Store. If you don't have an iOS device, you can go to QuranCityApp.com website. If you want notes from today's discussion or numerous other topics, you can go to Quran Talk blog website. And if you want more regular updates, you can follow me on Twitter at Talk Quran. And until next time, peace and God bless.